Well, I suppose my story starts really. Well, I'm a mum of two girls, so I have an 18-year-old and I have a 10-year-old. My 10-year-old, Abby, she's hearing impaired with severe language delay, and Leah is 18. She's wonderful. She's working away now, and she has diabetes type 1. So we've had a few challenges along the way, but really, when I was 9 years ago. I was the children were quite young, and I remember it was a really sunny day, and at the time I was in a place where I was very lonely. I felt like, oh my God, I'm useless. I haven't. God, what have I done with my life? And we had no money, and I was drinking quite heavily as well. I was probably relying on alcohol as a friend, my solace. And I decided one day, it was a sunny day, and the kids wanted to go to the beach, and I was just lying on the couch. I had no energy, and I said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. And so I decided to stop drinking, and I haven't. I went to my first meeting, and I haven't drank in 9 years. So I'm 9 years sober now. So 9 years in recovery, we call it. And I've worked really hard to work on my sobriety and help others as well, because now I'm on a program, and that program has changed my whole life, really. So that's really where it started, to be honest, because if you're not on a program, you won't be able to do anything else, really. So what happened was then, the more well I got, I started to want different things out of life. So it wasn't all about, I want to go to parties and I want to go here and I want to be a star and I want to do this and daydreams like that. It was more about, what value can I give to the community? And it was more about, how can I give back, and how can I give this gift that I've gotten back to others? So that's kind of the way you start thinking when you're around a while. And about 6 years ago, I was on social welfare, and my marriage was failing, and my dad had just passed away. And my dad was a real entrepreneur, really hardworking. Like I was born in these really big flats called Ballymun Flats in Dublin, really not a great area. And my dad worked really hard to get us to a nicer. We ended up in a cottage in the country. So I watched him work really hard. I watched him, all the ups and downs, and I watched him, being so tired he'd fall asleep when he came home from work, and all of those things. And but I watched him get things from working hard. So maybe that's my biggest inspiration, I suppose. He was lovely too. I miss him so much. But when he passed away, I remember thinking, you know what, life is too short. I couldn't believe that they had taken him. And I went, do you know what, life is too short. I'm just going to have to do something here. I am not going to have died and have done nothing. So one day, my eldest got her first period. So I felt really sorry for her, and I went, oh my God, she's only 11 now. So I went to the supermarket and I said, right, I'm going to buy her a beginner set, or there must be a beginner set. And there were none. There were no beginner sets for girls. I was like, isn't that strange? And because I wanted to get her some kind of gift to give her. And then, information book and all that stuff, And I went, So then there and then, I think it was my dad, I don't know, but there and then in the supermarket aisle, I got this idea. I went, right, I'll start the business. And then I thought of this name, Funky Goddess. And I went, right, I'll call it Funky Goddess, and I'll have a little hot water bottle for tummy aches, and I'll have an eye mask that says Funky Goddess on it. I'll have the little booklet. I'll have all the essentials, maybe a little soap and a little scented candle. Here I was, all this was going through my head, and I hadn't got a penny. I had no money. I had a computer, but I didn't have any money at all, right? And so I said, right, I'm going to do this. I was like, what is she doing? And then I just started doing research, went on the internet, and I started Funky Goddess. So this is where my journey really started. I started this company called Funky Goddess. My sister did a website for me, and I started the Funky Goddess gift box. So we have a show here called The Dragon's Den. And it's like Shark Tank. It's kind of like investors. You go in front of investors and you pitch your business to get investment. Because I had no money. I needed to make the box profitable. And so for people that don't have money that are starting a business, this is the first tip. Ask your family and friends for help. Okay? There's always someone in your family that will have a little bit put aside, that if they believe in you, they will invest in you. And it could be just like 1,000 or something, but it's something to get you started. Go to your local enterprise offices and ask for help. Now, when I went into mine, the lady said, oh, I would never give that to my daughter. Oh, she'd be mortified, right? And so if I'd listened to her, I wouldn't be doing all I'm doing now, right? So do get good advice, and do go with your gut and go with your passion, okay? Listen to advice from mentors and people you trust. But if you really are determined, you can make it happen. So I went on that TV show, and I got investment on the TV show. It's on YouTube if you want to look it up. And what happened was, when I was going to get my makeup done for the TV, a butterfly landed on the makeup girl's makeup light. And it was January. And I was like, and she was like, oh, why is there a butterfly here in January? And I said, that's my dad. Because me and my dad used to watch that show, you know, we used to watch that show all the time. And my dad would be like, oh, that's a great idea. Look at that. And so when I was going up the stairs and I went in, obviously he was in my head. And one of the ladies, the investors went, you've had a tough year, haven't you? And then I started crying. So I was the girl who cried. On Dragon's Den.
Yeah.
But that did me no harm at all as regards the audience watching, because I was on Twitter at this stage. I'd started to market the business. I had no marketing budget, remember. I had no money. I had money to get the stock. My mom was great. She gave me some money for the stock. And I started selling them. They were selling like crazy. And then I started marketing through Twitter and Facebook. And excuse me, I found in the evenings when the kids were in bed asleep was when I was online, because I was lonely as well. So really what I started doing was I started talking to people, and really I thought I was just talking to people and finding people like me, but I was building relationships. And this is what people talk about in business all the time. And what I was doing was finding other companies similar to mine in America, you know, and so I started reaching a global audience straight away, because they were like, oh yeah, and we all kind of pulled together. So there was a kind of a community there of people who talked about periods, you know, so it was really nice, and doctors and people like that. So that's really where it all started. So Funky Goddess was where it started, and then the Twitter building relationships thing started from that. But after the TV show, I didn't get the money, which sometimes happens. So it was sometimes they do due diligence afterwards, you see. So then people had actually started to approach me already about the fact that my Twitter following was so big. And I think I had 5,000 followers at this stage. And a company approached me and said, look, would you help us? It was a hotel. And they said, would you help us with our Twitter? Because we don't really know how to do it. And so then I went, maybe there's a business here. So that's really where it all started then, Tweeting Goddess. So I changed Funky Goddess to Tweeting Goddess, and a customer bought the company off me. So I sold my first startup.
That's amazing. What would you